One of the most historic and iconic trees of the Northwoods is the white pine. And this time of the year, the white pine is one of the most iconic pains in the butt. If you're in the Northwoods or if you are around any white pine this time of the year, you know what I am talking about. The air fills with a green, yellowish haze. Everything that you have will be covered with a greenish, yellowish dust. And it just does not stop. When you clean everything off, the next day, it's right back to being yellow and dirty and grimy. And then if you get a little rain, what's even worse is it doesn't really wash it off unless you get a hard rain. But if it gets just a little wet, this dust turns into a paste, and then it like sticks even more to whatever it's on. So this past weekend, it was like, I cleaned everything off on Friday up at the Tiki Bar for Friday Night Live. Saturday morning, completely covered again. All day Saturday, there was just plumes of this greenish haze going through the air. And so what I tried to do to like around the yard make it stop was I actually took the tractor and I like ran into a couple of the trees to try to knock that pollen off. It didn't really work. But I cleaned everything on Saturday because I thought Saturday might be the end of it. Sunday, it was the worst day of the whole last week. It was windy, there was pine pollen, there was cotton falling, it was just a mess. But anyway, so the reason I'm telling you all this is I want to show you, I'm getting the Easton made 37D here out, and I'm going to get it ready to transport up to Rick's Woodyard this coming week. And yeah, it is not a pretty sight. So this is what I am talking about, minus that. But yeah, just look at this. I mean, it is just everywhere. Just covered with this yellow, greenish dust. It is, like I said, it gets on everything. But we were fortunate enough to last night and then today now get a pretty decent rain. So you can see the end of the conveyor here is all washed off. But down here, this stuff still covered. So it's nice to get a heavy rain because it will wash off that pollen. But if you just get a light rain, it turns it into a paste and it's just even a bigger mess. So now to get the 37D ready for transport mode, you don't have to do this. What I'm doing today now is I am swapping out the box wedges because Rick prefers the 7-way box wedge, and what I have on there right now is the 5-way. So I do have to swap out wedges. And changing of the wedge with this machine is easier with the help of a tractor or some type of equipment and a second person, which I will have out here shortly. Whenever she decides to make her way to the woodyard, Amanda will be out here to help me with this because, like I said, it's just easier to do if you can have somebody on the tractor lowering the wedge down and then one person guiding it into the machine. So what is involved when you swap out wedges with something like the 37D, and I think with all the Easton made log splitters? The one thing you need to do, this has an adjustable wedge on it. So if you drop the wedge all the way down, it will disengage the locking mechanism down there, that right there. So that will allow your wedge to then be pulled up and out of here. If you had your wedge lifted up, that would be locked into that slot and then you wouldn't be able to lift the wedge out. The other thing I did is I lowered the conveyor all the way down because it makes it easier to drive in here. So the wings of the conveyor here, if those were up at an angle, you can't, it gets in the way. I know from changing this around many times. So you drop the conveyor down, which I need to do anyway to put it into transport mode. And then what I do is I hook the tow chains that come with the splitter. So I just take the chains, tow chains, And I just hooked these around a wing of the wedge, just like that. So I've got the chain going through around this wing of the wedge. I'll do that on the other side. And then I just have another chain that I hook to the bucket of the tractor. And I will just lift this straight up and out. Just like that. Left my chainsaw pants on here. Gross. So I'm just gonna drop that wedge right here, and then the 7-way is right there that I can just then pick that one up and take it over. Why do they call this the 7-way when there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wedges? So what will happen is, if you think of a piece of wood, a round that can go through this entire wedge, there would end up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 splits, because the split on the top counts as 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is why that right there is referred to as the 7-way box wedge. And here she comes to save the day. Lower it down a little bit. A little bit more. Oh, jeez. Hang on. Lift it up a little. Just a little. Oh. All right, now down. And just like that, the wedges on the Easton-made 37D have been swapped out from the 5-way wedge, box wedge, to the 7-way box wedge. And as I'm sure you saw a little bit ago, if you can imagine trying to do that solo, it does help if you are alone to have Mr. Shibe, outside with Shibe, gave me the tip to have the push plate come all the way out, and then that you can kind of use to help guide the wedge down into the slot. I probably should have done that here, but I figured I would just be able to maneuver it by hand. You saw that one time when it kind of dropped down, kind of scared me a little bit. Sometimes, I mean, the bucket wasn't above me anyway, but sometimes kind of keeps you on edge with stuff like that hanging over you. Hanging over your head keeps you on the edge. But the wedge is in. There's a lot of rhyming going on here in this closing part, but anyhow, the wedge is in. The Easton Made 37D will be ready to go. I'm probably just gonna leave it sit like this, and then when Rick comes to pick it up, I will raise up the conveyor, get everything set so it can be towed on over to his wood yard. Amanda had to go. She was gonna stick around and chat for a little bit, but she had to go. She forgot something at the grocery store, and she's finishing up with supper, so she had to run back to the grocery store and get what she forgot to get earlier. So yeah, she was gonna stay around and chat for a little while. Actually, I had a comment from somebody asking why they're like, do you ever let her speak in your videos? like I have control over whether or not she speaks in the videos, but she prefers not to. She does not really want to talk on camera. She just likes doing the work, getting that done. She doesn't really have a desire to speak. Maybe someday we'll get her back on the live stream and do another little interview segment with her. So stay tuned for that. I think I'm gonna try to do that. If I put out a post and get so many votes for her to be on the live stream, maybe we can convince her to be on the live stream. We shall see. Wedges changed, Easton Made 37D, almost ready to go. I'm ready to go, so thanks for watching. See you next time. Stay safe, have fun, and be cool.